Good afternoon, dear friends. I hope you've had time to properly wake up from your total relaxation. If not, feel free to just, take another minute to bring circulation to yourself. And we'll begin with listening to 3 sounds of the bell. Settling back into our bodies, into this moment. Hello again. This is Friday, the second day of our retreat, first full day. And this is the second Dharma Talk of the day in the afternoon. So something that we start to learn as we learn this practice pretty early on is this idea, this understanding that a huge amount of our suffering comes from our experience and our ideas that we are separate. If you pick any part of our suffering, our fear, our anxiety, anger, if you look in them, you'll see in there, rooted in there, is this idea that we are separate. So we have this wonderful topic of this retreat, which is interbeing, which is the opposite of being separate. It's this deeper truth and reality that we are part of life. We're part of all life. We're not a separate being. So some of us may have been hearing that for many years. Some of us, this may be sort of a new way of looking at it. So there's a question, why is it hard to really integrate that? What is it that keeps perpetuating this idea that we're separate? So Thich Nhat Hanh has taught quite a bit about Buddhist psychology, in this particular aspect of our mind that's called manas. I have a picture similar to kind of expanding Richard's picture from this morning. Uh-oh, is it backwards for you? No? Okay, good. So here, Richard was talking about the mind consciousness up here. This is like our waking consciousness, what we're experiencing. And then deep underneath is the store consciousness, where all the seeds were. These are potentials that when we touched it, it comes up into our mind. Like someone yells at us and it touches our seat of anger, and anger pops up, and then that's what's in our living room for that moment. We watch a sunset and open ourselves to the beauty, and the seed of awe, of connection. That might be what's living in our living room at that moment. So what we have learned from Tai is that manas is kind of this part of our consciousness that in some ways it holds us together. So it has its place and its value, especially at certain moments. There are many functions or qualities of manas. I've written a few of them down here. And a lot of it is based in self-preservation, survival. And you can learn about, a lot of this is kind of similar to what they're discovering about the functioning of the brain more recently. But the meditators figured a lot of this out a long time ago. Yeah. So the main quality of manas is it grasps onto this idea of a separate self in order to protect us. And it grasps very much onto all of our experiences, and it puts them into this basket, this idea that is us. So what all the different things we experience, it puts together and paints a picture of who we are, and really cultivates this idea that we are the separate self. It also has a tendency for pleasure seeking, so it's always going to be pushing us in that direction. And it has the quality of denying the dangers of pleasure seeking. So it moves us in this direction of pleasure, even though that pleasure may actually end up killing us in the end, if we don't learn to curb it. It also guides us to avoid pain. So you can see like how these things developed in order for our survival, for the continuation of our race, and drawing us towards many important things like coming together. Avoiding pain, of course, there's value in that. But part of the avoiding pain is also unhelpful, because it makes it hard to embrace our pain, which is what allows us to have healing. So we learn a lot about that in our practice, how to not run away from our pain, but to come back and be with it, to embrace it, to understand it, and through that help it to integrate and heal and not be a driving force we're kind of pushing away all the time. Yeah. So if manas is not cared for, it will push us in all of these directions that are unwholesome, that are going to cause us more suffering in the long run. But with our practice can work up in this area and actually work to transform our manas. It's only if it's kind of running the show that it can become really dangerous, but with appropriate attention we can actually direct it, direct ourselves instead of it directing us. So while it's helpful for like important moments of survival, this building up of this huge idea of our separate self, and that happiness comes from more and more and more and more, that kind of grasping action. Manas has a very grasping action at its base, actually leads to our unhappiness through most of our daily life if we're not attentive to it. It has this idea that happiness will come with more and more and more and more security. We need some security, of course, but it doesn't ever feel satisfied. So it's always going to be reaching for more pleasure, more security, thinking we need more money, we need more things, we need more stimulation, or more fame, more accomplishments. And once we get them, we think, then we'll be happy. Once I get that degree and that title, I'll be happy. Once I get this matter in my life settled, I'll be happy. So this incessant grasping is its nature. But the interesting thing is that happiness isn't possible when we're grasping like that, because it's pulling us away. In the very experience of grasping onto something, you can't have contentment. See the difference in the feeling? Like real happiness comes from contentment, allowing ourselves to be happy. Happy has that feeling of completion, that feeling of or that experience also of being where we are in life, in this very moment. So if this tape is playing in the back of our mind, next weekend I will be happy. Or when work is over today, I will be happy. We don't get to actually experience happiness. We just get to experience chasing happiness. So I'd like to offer a short guided meditation. One of my favorite ones, probably many of you have done this with me before, meditation on letting go. Because manas has this function in our consciousness, and then all this grasping is really watered. Like we have created a society based on this grasping. So it's not like we just in ourselves think, I need a degree and I need this beautiful car to be happy. It's that it's watered in us from the time we're little children. We're being told that's where our happiness is, out there. Yeah. And our ancestors had that watered in them as well. So it's a very deep impulse. I mean, the Buddha recognized this 2,000 years ago when life was more simple. So it's been growing in humanity. Our whole society is built on many of those ideas. But our consciousness is organic, and our consciousness can learn new capacities. So learning to, allowing us to grow our mindfulness and grow new understanding can bring a different experience into our life. So this meditation on the joy of letting go is one of my favorites, because it is building a different force inside of me. And instead of the force of grasping, a force of letting go. So coming back to ourselves for the meditation, coming into our bodies. And I'll bring up a few areas where we may have developed some ideas about who we are, some grasping onto some ideas about who we are as a separate self. And breathing in, I let go of the idea that I need a certain amount of money to be happy. And breathing out, I feel the joy of letting go of the idea that I need a certain amount of money to be happy. Breathing in, I let go of the idea that I am defined by and limited by my accomplishments. Breathing out, I feel the joy of letting go. Breathing in, defined by accomplishments. Breathing out, joy of letting go. Breathing in, I let go of the idea that I am defined by and limited by my material possessions. And breathing out, I feel the joy of letting go. Breathing in, defined by possessions. And breathing out, joy of letting go. Breathing in, I let go of the idea that I am defined by and limited by recognition from others and my talents. Breathing out, I feel the joy of letting go of this idea. Breathing in, defined by recognition and talent. Breathing out, joy of letting go. I see that my true happiness is not found in my ideas about myself and my accomplishments. True happiness is found in my own contentment, my own presence, and my awareness that I am part of the vast ocean of life. Breathing in, true happiness found in contentment. And breathing out, I am part of the ocean of life. Sometimes we'll hear in the Buddhist tradition reference to different realms that beings live in. And some of them are realms of great happiness, and some of them are realms of suffering. And there's one realm called the realm of the hungry ghosts, which I think is where many of us as modern citizens live. And the story is, the image they have is, it's a land where there's a lot of food, But the throats of the beings there is so thin that the food can't come in. So the beings feel like they're starving because they can't eat. They can't receive nourishment. And I feel like the seed of craving and restlessness and agitation is watered so much in our modern life that we can't eat. We're always hungry and we can't eat. Even though the food is right there. And that's the gift of mindfulness, is it helps us to start to quiet down the craving, quiet down the agitated mind, so that we can eat what we're really longing for. Yeah, we can actually experience our own presence. We can experience our life as it is in this moment, not as an idea we're chasing after. We can experience real happiness and contentment and connection. The reality of who we are, which is part of everything. The mental agitation that I feel like most of us have, it's like in our minds there's always stuff going on. It's like the children, we often teach mindfulness with a jar, and we put lots of sparkles in the bottom, and there's liquid in there, and they shake it up and the sparkles fill the space, and it looks very pretty. But the idea is that's what our mind usually looks like, although the things aren't usually that sparkly that are floating around in there. But we have a lot going on, thoughts, thinking about things on the other side of the planet or tomorrow, or things we're worrying about, and we can't see clearly. It's like a visor we have around us, separating us from reality, and it's full of all our thoughts, all our busy thinking. We can't actually see what's right in front of us, or what's right inside of us. We're just stuck in this murky water with all of our mental agitation, creating a veil of separation. We're not actually separate from life or ourself, but we can't touch them because we're too full. So our practice is always bringing us back to quieting this. Yeah. Calming down all of this agitation. And it's quite amazing when you start to do that. You start to, I feel myself again. I feel myself in my body. And I can start to see the world around me. Sometimes I describe it as going from black and white to color, because it's actually more extreme than that in some ways. Like when I have all that agitation, I don't feel the real aliveness and flavor and depth of beauty that life is. But as I become more quiet, more clear, I can touch it, I can feel it. I would like to read a poem by St. John of the Cross. It's called "Dig Here," the angel said. She caught me off guard when my soul said to me, "Have we met?" So surprised I was to hear her speak that I chuckled. She began to sing a tale. There was once a hard-working man who used to worry so much because he could not feed and clothe his children and wife the way he wanted. There was a beautiful little chapel in the village where the man lived, and one day while he was praying, an angel appeared. The angel said, "Follow me." And he did, out into an ancient forest. "Dig here," the angel said. and that man felt strength in his limbs he had not known since youth, and with his bare hands he dug deep and found a lost treasure, and his relationship with the world changed. Finding our soul's beauty does that. Gives us tremendous freedom from worry. Dig here is dig here. Dig here in ourselves. All that we're wanting our whole life is happiness, is connection. And we look all over, but it's right here. Dig right here inside, and we find it's right there, always available to us. Finding our soul's beauty does that. Gives us tremendous freedom from worry. We're worried about losing things and holding on to things. But once we know it, once we can actually feel it, that worry isn't there in the same way. And when you go here, you find the whole world. Yeah. Interbeing isn't a concept. We use it as a concept for a little while, but it shouldn't stay a concept at all, because what it actually is a living experience that we can have. You don't want to sit and look at a glass of water and worship it and know that it can satisfy you and be so refreshing, and just like leave it sitting there on the altar. Water is something you can feel in your body. It's real. It's an experience. And the idea of it might be refreshing, but the reality is a whole nother level, especially for this longing we have, this longing of knowing our true self, our true nature, our true home. And that we're longing for is so close. All we need to do is quiet ourselves enough and pay attention, open our eyes to see the sunshine and know we are sunshine and the sunshine is us. Quiet ourselves enough to feel our connection, our interbeing, our true home. Pei is so skillful. He's given us so many tools to help us to come to our true home, to know it often. Our body, our awareness of our body is a wonderful doorway. So what we're doing when we're practicing awareness of our body is we are not creating agitation. We're not shaking up the jar with our thoughts, right? Our awareness isn't on our thoughts that are going out about something we need to print, or, our awareness is coming into this location, this moment, and it's focusing on something that's very simple. And so that's calming our mind. And as that mind quiets down, the veil becomes more transparent, and we can start to see the world around us. If you walk through the room in your house not in mindfulness, you don't really feel yourself. You don't really notice very much about the room when you're walking in your thoughts about something else. But when you walk through your room in mindfulness, it's very different. You feel your body. You know who you are, and you know what the room feels like. Yeah. So we have lots of body-centered practices that Thai has offered us. When he offers us walking meditation, it's not just so we can enjoy a nice leisurely walk. Yeah, it's a deep doorway for us. By becoming aware of our body and quieting our mind and really feeling the earth beneath us, he's giving us that key to our true home, to be able to feel it and know it. That's why it's such a big part of our practice. In Plum Village, we did it for like 45 minutes every day as a training, so that we could then do it the rest of the day. Yeah, so that we could live our life with this experience of being really there. And working meditation, we learn to do our work as a meditation. And that starts with being in our body. Yeah, so that's all right away already calming our mind, so we can see more clearly. Thai often used to invite us on walking to walk in the kingdom of heaven with him. He said the kingdom of heaven, it's right around us all the time. It's not like it's up in the sky or someplace else, or for some privileged beings to walk in. All it is clearing this. Yeah. And it's there. So beautiful. So I want to talk a little bit more about working meditation and using our gathas, because these are the ways that we can bring our deep practice into our daily life, off of our sitting meditation cushion. And in this retreat, we're really trying to offer a lot of tools so that the retreat, as I think Michael was saying earlier, isn't just lived when we're on the screen, but we live it into our home. Into all the time in between the talks, that we really give ourselves this weekend as a deep gift to ourselves, of healing, of presence, of kindness and gentleness, and of deepening our practice. So I want to talk about my practice of dishwashing. I don't know if y'all noticed, but in the last email on Thursday that you got, there's a attachment that has these colorful gathas that you can print out and cut up. And the invitation is to print them out and cut them up and put them around your house. So you might tip one on the mirror in your bathroom for looking in the mirror, and maybe this one for washing dishes goes by your sink. So you put them around so that it helps you to remember to practice. That's the intention with them. So the dishwashing gatha is: washing the dishes is like bathing a baby Buddha. The profane is sacred. Everyday mind is Buddha's mind. So the Buddha's mind is not found in the monastery after 50 years of sitting meditation. The Buddha's mind can be found while you're washing your dishes. The profane is sacred. Can you imagine washing the baby Buddha? Washing a little baby full of like joy and light and like so careful. So washing our dish. Why can washing our dish be like washing the baby Buddha? The Buddha actually is awakened mind. Yeah. If we're washing our dish with mindfulness, our mind is quiet, we're living so deeply in that moment, the baby Buddha is born right then inside of you. Yeah. And you're tending it, you're helping it to grow as you wash your dish. And the Buddha in us might start as like a seed this big, right? But as we care for it, this awakened mind, it grows. It becomes a more of an experience that we can access more often in our daily life. Maybe eventually a companion like this, as big as us by our side. A real presence accompanying us. So, well, I live off-grid and I have 3 children, and off-grid means no dishwasher. So a lot of my day I spend washing dishes. I think at least an hour, probably most days. So that's one of my big practices. But in fact, we can really ground our practice in many places, and especially we're invited, the ones we spend a lot of time, we can use those as our practice opportunity. Make that time worth living. Make that time meaningful for you. So in front of my sink, I have a whole altar that I keep fresh. I have a really joyful, smiling Buddha that's bowing to me. And I have a candle, and I'll often light a candle. So I create this dishwashing temple for myself. And when I first get to the sink, the first thing I do is I start to become aware of what's happening inside. I see my mind going in many directions, and I start to let go of that planning for later. I'm going to give myself this treat of being right where I am. And I bring my awareness into my body, and I notice where it's tender, I notice where there's tension. Sometimes I might like do some yoga, not like intensive yoga, but just like a little stretching before I start, to really bring myself into my body and to relax my body. And then I keep anchoring my awareness in my body, in my breath. And I start washing the dishes. Yeah, sometimes I'll put on some relaxing music. It's really helpful. Creating that practice space, that temple space for myself. So once we begin to create more space and quiet the mind, we can continue to deepen our experience by looking deeply, being in touch deeply with what's in front of us. So for me, if I'm washing dishes, it's often pottery, like my plates. So I'm enjoying being in my body. I feel my arm. You know, like in yoga, they say, raise your arm, feel that stretch, they invite you to live into your body, right? So when I'm washing the dishes, I'm living into my hands, these amazing hands I have that can move. I feel my arm, I feel my hands. I feel the lovely soap and water. Yeah, so I'm in my body. And then I look into what's in front of me, the pottery. And I see the soil, I see the potter, I see my ancestors who created the first bowl, first dish. Yeah. And all of a sudden I'm not just in my kitchen, I'm connected. I feel myself connected to life, to the earth, to the colors in it, the pigments, the sense of beauty that my ancestors had. There's so much connection starts to happen. And gratitude comes up. So much gratitude that I have dishes to eat off of. And I see the water, and I trace the water through the faucet into the earth, into the streams. And suddenly it's not just this water in front of me, but I'm feeling connected with the water. Water's all over the earth. So we use this quieting of the mind and then this looking deeply to open the feeling of interbeing. So practices like that are slowly breaking these constructs of these walls of the separate self. We have, as a monastic, you have so many gathas, and so many of them are pointing in this direction, helping us to grow our deep looking, so we can easily feel our connection in our daily life. In all these little moments, we grow it. Thank you, dear Sangha, for listening and being together. I'm going to invite one sound of the bell to finish this time together.